Resident Evil 9 Gamescom trailer was epic. I think Alyssa looks amazing, her color scheme with her red jacket matches the Outbreak version of her, and Grace looks phenomenal as well. But one character has my full attention. It's the Hooded Man. This video will be about the theories I have on the trailer. Right or wrong, I'm so interested in what's going on with the story. First theory, I believe that the Hooded Man is a BSAA creation, a very early version of what we saw in Resident Evil 8. Now, this Resident Evil 9 flashback scene happens before the events of Resident Evil 8. Zooming in on this creature's face shows palish gray skin with black ink coming down its face. This shows a resemblance to the bioweapon military soldier we saw at the end of Resident Evil 8. It also has grayish skin with black ink around its eyes. Could these two figures be connected somehow? The BSAA covered up the events of Resident Evil 7. However, also in Resident Evil 7, Alyssa Ashcroft was investigating the missing persons case around the baker's home. Alyssa in the Resident Evil 9 trailer knew exactly who was hunting her and why.
What the?
They're coming. Grace, we need to go.
Go where? Mom, what's going on?
Hurry!
Wait, who's coming? What's wrong?
Shh! We need to keep our voices down.
This is ridiculous.
Come on. I promise you, I will explain this all to you one of these days.
She was even prepared by bringing a handgun. The BSAA having bioweapons and clearly into bioweapon research was a huge twist at the end of Resident Evil 8. In this game, if these two bioweapons are connected, we could be getting an answer to the mystery. I already made a BSAA Alyssa video and so many people loved and supported it. You can go watch that video next, as I'm currently in development of part 2 of that video using this trailer, but I find it very interesting. Perhaps we are going to be fighting this enemy as like a common enemy in the game, not really like an important figure, but you know, those enemies that just come at us. After all, Jeff Keighley did say in the very first reveal trailer that Resident Evil 9 will also be a high-paced cinematic action game. Next is kind of wild, but it came to me almost instantly during my reaction while I was watching the trailer. Could there be some significance with the Las Plagas Parasite? Yes, the same version we fought in Resident Evil 4 Remake. And I say this because they have this palish skin that those enemies had. They have this black ink on their face. Not the only one that noticed this. There is a huge resemblance between this hooded figure and the zealots that we fought in Resident Evil 4 Remake. And again, it's not just the hood over their face, it's their design overall. The fate of Las Plagas is kind of up in the air. They did appear in Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5, but they also appeared in one of the Resident Evil animated movies called Damnation. They played a huge role in that movie as well. And again, if you don't know, all the movies are canon. Like, I can't believe people still don't know this, but yes, the animated movies are canon to the Resident Evil universe. Now, when Wesker got his hands on Las Plagas, he put it on the black market, allowing companies like Tricell to get a sample of it, and this other country as well in Resident Evil Damnation. Of course, Las Plagas is the most popular parasite right next to the T-Virus in Resident Evil. Again, the success that Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4 Remake had on the industry and the franchise is very noticeable. I know people really hate when they hear this, but Resident Evil 5 is the top-selling Resident Evil game in the franchise. If Resident Evil 9 truly is this tribute to the past, then including the most popular parasite in the entire Resident Evil franchise makes a lot of sense on paper. Now, my next theory is that this hooded figure is somehow connected to the Connections. The Connections was the group that created the mold in the Eveline virus. With Brandon Bailey being the founder and leader of the Connections, that means the Connections has connections all the way to Umbrella, as Brandon Bailey is probably the last living member of the group of individuals who founded Umbrella to begin with. Yes, right alongside Spencer and the Ashford family, Brandon Bailey was right there with them. And if memory serves correct, he is actually the final living person who was in that initial group that started everything. If you read the BSAA files in Resident Evil 7, they straight up say that Brandon Bailey is alive, but they have no idea where he is and his current status. Since they are a group that was responsible for Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8's events, perhaps Resident Evil 9 will once again go back to the connections and finally end their story. And if you think about it, this would be a trilogy, right? Which is kind of Capcom's thing. You have Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, the originals, which was about the fall of Raccoon City. Then you have 4, 5, 6. I personally call this the action era, but 4 and 5 had the Las Plagas Parasite in them. Then you have Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9, which is the connection story. So, my question to you is, do you think that the Hooded Man is Brandon Bailey? Or do you think the Hooded Man is a product of Brandon Bailey, creating another bioweapon specifically to hunt down Alyssa Ashcroft for her blood? Remember, she does have the daylight vaccine within her, which makes her very unique. Hell, it makes all of the Outbreak characters unique if you really think about it. But what makes Grace probably more special than Alyssa or the other Outbreak characters who probably have daylight within them is the fact that daylight within Grace might have mutated and changed forms when passing from mother to daughter. Very interesting. What do you all think about that? Sorry, I had a little pause there to think about that. You know, when I make these videos, I create theories in my brain at the same time, and I just decided that I'm gonna make a follow-up to this theory as well. I always wanted to talk about the Brandon Bailey stuff, so I think this is my excuse. I'm gonna be out of here. Thank you guys and girls for listening. Deuces.